I'm not someone who kind of climbs the mountain and says, the view's amazing up here. You know, how's it going down there? It's like, the view's amazing up here. Here's how I got here.
Hello and welcome to Aha Moments podcast with me, Kobi Omenaka. Today's guest is Sophie Storm Roberts, aka Challenge Sophie.
Like, you just have to start and you have to just take those steps forward over and over again.
One day, Sophie challenged herself to get out of her life that had been predetermined through schooling, university, and into her first job. And she decided to do a challenge in Borneo.
This is how I'm going to expand myself, my life, my vision, you know, how I feel about like confidence, courage, resilience, like all of those things that are this toolbox that we all need in life.
Now, this conversation talks about how she took those first steps and how that then has inspired other people to take on their own challenges. Maybe not as big as going to Borneo and doing a race there, but certainly taking the first steps along the way.
If you have a strong enough why, you'll find the how.
And this is a great conversation with Sophie. She's inspired me to do a few things just from this 45 minutes, and hopefully she'll inspire you guys to take your first step in a different direction, in a new direction, in an exciting and terrifying direction. Hey Sophie, thank you so much for joining me on Aha Moments podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We are recording in spring. The sun is coming out consistently now, and it's not so cold in my beautiful office, which it can be. So I'm looking forward to the next few months and hopefully the longer days and everything that brings with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's get straight to a bit about what you do and you spending time outside. How much do the seasons affect you? I imagine that you probably prefer the longer days and the sunnier times. Hey Sophie, thank you so much for joining me on Aha Moments podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We are recording in spring. The sun is coming out consistently now, and it's not so cold in my beautiful office, which it can be. So I'm looking forward to the next few months and hopefully the longer days and everything that brings with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's get straight to a bit about what you do and you spending time outside. How much do the seasons affect you? I imagine that you probably prefer the longer days and the sunnier times.
Well, I definitely do. I do feel like the UK gets a really bad rap in the winter. You know, I have to say that this winter, I think we've had enormous amounts of sunshine, and we had that amazing snow right at the beginning in January, and it just so happened to be a weekend. So me and my friends from uni, every year we go and climb a mountain together. Oh, wow. The first weekends of January, just like as a way of let's kickstart the year, let's go and do something, let's do a challenge. Let's find this time to reconnect after Christmas. And we hit it bang on one of those weekends when it was just this beautiful blue sky sunshine, but everything was covered in snow and we were in Wales. And we just had this extraordinary weekend together. And so I'm super grateful. And I think like the weather definitely doesn't stop me from going outside. I love to go outside in all conditions. And yeah, I think, I just feel incredibly grateful to live in a world that has seasons and live in a part of the world that does have seasons. Because if you live in LA, for example, as beautiful as that's going to be, but you're never going to get the seasons. So let's embrace it.
Well, I never used to go out running when it was raining because I was like a bit miserable. But that typically meant that I'll wait a couple of hours and I go running later on kind of thing, or just have a closer eye on the weather. And then I moved to Norway and everyone there said, look, you just need to get better clothes and get outside. And that just changed my mindset completely. So now it's just like, okay, get the clothes on and get going. Unless it's like dangerous, where like it's icy underfoot, then I'm just like, it's not worth it. Then it wouldn't stop me. And some of the best days I've had running were like fresh snow and I'm literally treading the first footprints out and leaving the first footsteps, and it's awesome.
Yeah. It's, you gotta get out. So I think that some winter sunshine is just incredible.
It is. I did a ski season in France after university, and I would, those blue sky days were literally some of the best days I hold dearest in my heart, in my life, hopefully going on for eternity, I guess.
I love that.
So we met a long time ago, and as a bit of a recap for me and also to let people know who you are and what you do, can you give us a bit of a background as to Challenge Sophie started, essentially? Why are you called Challenge Sophie to start off with?
Sure. Well, firstly, thanks for having me here. Yeah, it's so exciting to be able to reconnect with people that you met at a different stage of your journey. So I'm really happy to be here. Challenge Sophie is my personal brand that's based around the concept of challenging ourselves. And when I got my first job out of university, I think that we live in this world that kind of tells us like everything is gearing up towards you having this job in this career. And then when you achieve success in that career, you're going to feel fulfilled and you're going to get to know who you are and, you know, your sense of purpose and value and all of that kind of stuff will come from that. But I very quickly realized this isn't the place that I'm going to find out the answers to the burning questions I have about myself and life. And so 6 months into my first job, I was working in a tech startup in East London doing business development. And I was like, is this really it? You know, is this really what life is about and what I've been kind of preparing my whole entire childhood and life for this moment? And I just thought, you know, I've got to do something about this. So Challenge Sophie is something that originated a long time ago, and it was really a pursuit of mine, a desire to go and challenge myself beyond the boxes that I found myself in as a recent graduate, finding a job in London. And this idea that we're kind of given this rule book of life, and it's like, okay, you get your job, and that's your career, and that's how you're going to find out, you know, your sense of purpose and fulfillment and success. And if you tick all these boxes, then you'll feel all the way that you want to feel. And I was sort of 6 months into that journey and thinking, is this really it? You know, is this really how I'm going to find out who I am and, you know, what my potential is? And like all these burning questions I had about life and myself. And I was also, you know, going to the pub quite a lot after work and just living this kind of life that felt a bit like an extension of university, except now I'm working in an office 9 to 5. And I thought, surely there's so much more to life than this. And I've got to take this into my own hands and go and do something. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll do a challenge and I'll get fit, and that will give me something to focus on and all this kind of stuff. And I like to throw myself in at the deep end. So my first challenge was an adventure race in Borneo in the jungle. And I went off. I like literally, you know, I need kind of big things to motivate me.
Can
So
I
I went,
ask how did you even find that in the first place? Because if people typically, you know, especially if you're London based, people are thinking, well, maybe I'll do a marathon in 3 years, but I'll do a 10K first, and then maybe do a half marathon the year after, and I hopefully get into London Marathon. But you went, no, that's not it. Let's head over to Borneo and maybe see some orangutans whilst I'm doing an adventure race.
yeah, I tend to do things the opposite way. So like I did my first Ironman, you know, way before I'd even done a half marathon. And then I'll do like the end result and then I'll work my way back and I'll think, oh, actually, maybe I'll run a 5K. That sounds quite nice in comparison to a Ironman or a marathon. I think, and it, you know, this was, I just, there's a company called British Military Fitness. And I think at the same time that I signed, I was looking for something to, you know, a way to get fit. And they do boot camps in London's parks. And, you know, there was none of this fitness scene that is happening at the moment. This was 2008. You know, there was none of this like fitness scene. There was none of these gyms, boutique gyms, and all the gear and everything that's going on today. But they ran this challenge, and the moment I saw it, I just thought that's the one. Like, you know, when it pulls something inside you, you talk about these aha moments. Like when we have these aha moments of we see something that creates this equal reaction of fear and excitement within us, but it just inspires us. It ignites that fire. It captures something about our imagination and our soul and our spirit. And we're like, oh my gosh, imagine if I could do that. And at the same time, your brain is thinking, there's no way I can do that. Or so intrigued and excited and motivated. That is what I always say to people. Whatever it is that makes you feel that way, go and do it.
Yeah,
You know, and
I mean, that's astonishing. It's that kind of fear of like, it's like feeling of how can I not do it, and not like I really want to do that. It's like how can I not do it, and I'll
yeah.
make sure that I'm going to do it, even though, like I say, I think that the equal fear, equal levels of fear, equal levels of excitement is a fantastic way to describe that sensation.
Yeah, and it could be, you know, quitting your job or starting a side hustle or going on a solo travel trip on your own or finally signing up for that course and learning something that you've always wanted to learn. You know, or it could be doing a half marathon or a marathon, whatever it is. But whatever it is that makes you feel that way, you know, we should just all be doing more of those things constantly. Like we all need to have something in our lives all the time that makes us feel that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I used to do a lot of triathlons and stuff, and part of it was to make sure I got out of bed and went outside and running. And now I'm not now I've not done anything like that for like 4 years since pandemic and since the kid arriving. I do miss those times where, at least once a year, myself and my friends would do just a small triathlon, just do a sprint in Blenheim Palace, and that would kickstart the season. But I would make sure, because I know my friends were doing it, then we definitely would show up for each other. One of the reasons I wanted to speak to you is because I'm like, I need to get that kick in my life again. So this is super motivating. So please carry on.
I love that. And it started this really positive domino effect in my life where I came back from the Borneo challenge and I was like, oh, this is how I'm going to become the person I want to become. It's not through my career. It's not through going to the pub. It's not through all of these other aspects of life. This is how I'm going to expand myself, my life, my vision, how I feel about like confidence, courage, resilience, like all of those things that are this toolbox that we all need in life. This is how I'm going to do it. So I just pursued it and I was like, oh, what's next? Adventure racing in Borneo, done. Now I'm going to look into adventure racing. And then I signed up for my first triathlon. I loved the cycling element of that. And I then thought, oh, I know what I'll do. My grandmother lived in Paris. So I decided I wanted to cycle from London to Paris in 24 hours. Literally no experience again. Like I'd cycled 40 miles once. A bunch of people who were like three or four guys from a bike forum who were talking about it online, and I just contacted them. I was like, "Oh, there was a forum I found from a couple of years ago when you were saying you wanted to cycle to Paris. Do you still want to do that? And if so, I do." So we met at a pub in Soho, and we planned the thing on the back of a napkin, and then we went off and did it. And it was just, all of these things. Like I was coming back from every single one of them, and I'd be doing them on my weekends and my holidays, and I'd come back, and I was just so fired up and I felt invincible. And I just thought, this is magic because there's this area of my life where I'm able to face my fears and overcome them and show myself the most incredible lessons and tools about life. And, no one's going to do it for us. And actually, when you learn how to back yourself by facing adversity and overcoming all the things that, that your inner critic is telling you can't do, it's transformational. And I just absolutely loved it. And then that became my life and my passion. And then in 2012, I decided to quit my job and go out into the world and go sailing, release my ship from the safe harbor, which is one of the quote that inspired me to do that at that time. And I just thought, okay, if this whole concept of challenging yourself has been so powerful to me and it's put me in this position where I feel like I can now go and create my own business and do what I really want to do and create an impact and all of these things, then then hopefully it'll be inspirational to other people as well. And I just went out into the world and started talking about it and championing it and all of that sort of stuff. And then kind of everything just kicked off from that.
I mean, what was it like that time when you decided to quit your job? How were you feeling when you actually went through the process of like, okay, I need to do this?
Yeah,
was that same? Go on.
Well, the process of deciding I was going to do it and then how I felt when I'd actually done it were two very different stories. And both of them had big aha moments in them. So when I decided I was going to do it, that whole process happened extremely quickly. And like with everything, it's like there was quite a big lead up. And I'm extraordinarily committed to the things that I'm committed to. So I'll go to the end of the earth when I'm trying to make something work. But then once I've decided that it's maybe not going to work, then I can get out of that like very quickly. And that's basically what happened to me. I was like, just kept trying to make it work in my job, make it work, come up with new solutions, ideas, all this kind of stuff. And then one day I just allowed myself to think of what I would do if I left. And once I'd allowed myself to envisage that, there really was no turning back. And I just thought, well, if not now, when? And I started to look at like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like I'd saved up a bunch of money to buy my first property. So I had some money saved up. I saw people doing extraordinary things all around the world using their laptop and their phone. And I was in this office in North London with no natural light underneath a railway arch, managing my team of 25 people, thinking this is so restrictive. Like I have to be in this room every day to earn my salary. And this salary that I'm earning, it's not allowing me to live the life that I really want to live. So that kind of happened quite quickly. And then once I left, which was about 4 weeks after having this first thought of, you know, should I leave and what would I do? Then I was just absolutely terrified. And it was like, you know, when you go in one of those like water theme parks and you go down a really fast ride,
Yeah,
like a really fast
like a slide,
loop,
the tube.
like
Yeah.
ride, yeah. And you know, you're all excited at the top and you're with your mates and like, come on, let's do this, let's do this. And then you go down and it's really exciting. And then you land at the end and you're just like, oh, you're swimming in this pool of water and you're like, you can't find your way up and it just feels terrible. That's basically exactly how I felt when I quit my job. It was all sort of high fives and woo, you know, you're going to do this. It's going to be so exciting. And then it was like, okay, do the thing. And then you're just spat out on the other end and you're in the real world and you're like, well, what now? There's there's no there's no path, there's no structure, there's no team, there's nothing that I have to do. Like it's just terrifying. But again, like talking about these aha moments of what I learned in that moment, I just come back to it over and over and over again. And it's like you just have to start and you have to just take those steps forward over and over again. And looking at people who have achieved amazing things and going back through their journey and realizing like they had an idea, they started and they committed and they showed up every single day and they believed in themselves, they backed themselves. And those were the core tools and lessons that I'd learned from all of my challenges. So I just applied that to this entrepreneurial journey that I found myself on and went for it.
So, I mean, the way you kind of set yourself up there was that you picked up the challenges. So you started the first challenge, Borneo, and then it wasn't baby steps because that's a huge first step to make. But then it wasn't just a case of, right, I'm going to go to Borneo, I'm going to quit my job right now and then train for X months until that. But you actually did it in a quite sensible manner. But then there was still the fear of like, okay, now there isn't that structure, which, like I say, I was a similar kind of thing. My parents were like, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be something. And went through that process, went to university, did the thing, did the career, pivoted away. So that's something, not having that structure you had ingrained for your whole life. I can understand why it's terrifying. I can understand why it's disconcerting. I understand why it's that splash pool that you get at the end of the slide. But I love it. But you did. But at least you did give yourself some structure. You were testing the waters in different ways, right? So it wasn't necessarily just like, I'm going to up sticks now and move to Borneo forever and live in a tree. It was thought out strategically.
Yeah, and you know what? You just figure it out. And what I realized is like when you have that incredibly strong vision and why, like when you know, I think there's a quote and it's like if you have a strong enough why, you'll find the how. When your why is literally like it consumes you, that whole it's what you get out of bed for in the morning, you know, then you just figure it out. And it's so exciting, it's so fun, it's I wouldn't change it for the world. There's no I wouldn't be able to do something that I didn't believe in and that wasn't, you know, it's like I was put on this planet for a reason and I figured out what that is. And it's to go through these things and use myself as a human guinea pig to face fear and deal with a lot of things that a lot of us struggle with. And then extract all the tools and the frameworks and the lessons from that and talk about that in a way that people relate to and respond to and resonate with, that actually moves people from A to B. That's not just another, you know, inspirational idea or whatever it is, but actually these are the tangible steps that you can take to move yourself from A to B. And also these are all the things that we're all struggling with and they're completely normal. And that's like I have a very compassionate approach. So like when I coach my clients, you know, it's really trying to alleviate some of that pressure that we feel from the external world of all of the things that we should be or should be doing or how our lives should look or feel or all this insane amount of pressure that we all experience on a, you know, on a daily basis through social media, through parenting, through peers, you know, everything. And just support people to actually take those steps forward.
So one thing you said there, which I thought was awesome, is like using yourself as the guinea pig that you then share your knowledge and your experience with other people. I imagine you connect and touch and inspire a whole wave of a bunch of people. What's it like when you meet those people and what kind of feedback do you get and what does it keep on inspiring you to keep on doing what you're doing?
Yeah, it really does. It can be really touching and it's really, yeah, my brain has just gone to like all of the different sort of interactions that I've had with people over the years. I mean, when I went and did my second Ironman, which was Ironman Wales, I'd done it a year before, I think a year or 2 years before. And I'd written about it and written this blog and done a video and stuff like that. And I had so many people come up to me during the race the second time from, from people at registration or during the race and just be like, I read your blog and that's why I'm here. And I think that that's exactly what I want this to be about, is this movement that is empowering and inspiring, and people taking action over our lives and realizing how incredibly amazing and powerful and unstoppable we all are, and we all can all feel. It's just that we are incredibly good at getting in our own way as human beings. We're literally the best at it. We come up with all these self-doubt and the reasons and the self-sabotage and imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh God. Again, it's all this external stuff, and then we build it all up and then we don't take action. It paralyzes us. And I'm like, but we're missing out on so much. And I get to see people who've broken through that, and that I've been a catalyst in that, then like I'm so happy. And one of my favorite things is, so I told you one of my challenges that I did was cycling London to Paris in 24 hours. And then over the last 10 years, I've created an event and I've run that every year, and people come from all over the world to do that. And like last year, we had someone who met someone on a beach in Guatemala. He told him about it, and then they came. It's so interesting hearing this story. It's like, how did you find out about this? But that really, really is incredibly special. And some people have come back and done that like 5, 6, 7 times.
Oh, wow.
And they come back for the community and for the people that they've met on it in previous years. And, when we've still got a group chat that was from a ride 2 years ago, and people are messaging in it like every single week. And when I look at it, and some of the people have their photo of them at the Eiffel Tower as their WhatsApp photo, just know how much it means to them to be able to have achieved this. Like some people will write and they'll be like, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life. And I think that's it. It's like everything that I do, like I will never promote something or create something that I haven't done myself. It's like, this experience changed my life. I want to create this for you to experience the same as well. So yeah, I feel very lucky to be able to do what I do.
I do. It is one of my challenges. One of the things I love to do is London to Paris, and we were supposed to do it for a friend's stag do and end up at Moulin Rouge at the end. It never did transpire. So I might have to join you on one of these annual trips.
Please do, please do.
It sounds great. So who
definitely have some aha moments on that for sure. You'll definitely have some aha moments on that for sure.
Yeah, honestly, when I started cycling a lot, it's just immense. It's just really great fun. And one of the things you said there about community was like, when I was living in London, I used to cycle around Regent's Park like literally every morning before work, and the people I met there were like, sometimes I didn't know them if I was to stand next to them, but once they started talking, I was like, okay, I know who you are, and you could have really in deep conversations, and it's led to business things, it's led to just life moments, which has been fantastic, and I think cycling is really powerful for that. So I'm sure there'll be a plethora of aha moments from cycling from London to Paris.
Yeah. Well, you just inspired me because I've just moved back to London, and you've now inspired me to think that's exactly what I should do. I should go and join a cycling club and go and cycle around Regent's Park, because I used to love that.
Well, you're South London now, aren't you? So Richmond Park is probably an easier grab for you.
But Regent's Park is a vibe.
Yeah, Regent's. I love it. I love it today.
It's an absolute vibe. But this is how this works, and this is the world that I want to live in, where we're all just inspiring each other to go and take action and do epic stuff, and then realize, hold on a sec, I don't need to let all this fear and imposter syndrome hold me back. I can go and do these amazing things. I've learned how to back myself and keep going. This is what fires me up. This is the world that I want to live in. Not where we're like, oh, it's so difficult to do anything, or it's just so much fear in the world.
The reason I started cycling, well, so I came to London doing triathlon, and I was just cycling around and joining a tri club. By the way, where you are, there's a triathlon club called Full On Tri.
Yes, there is.
And they were quite good when I lived near there temporarily before moving to North London. This is like 15 years ago, but they're a really good bunch of people. So maybe connect with them if you're looking for a bunch of people to do tries with. But so I moved to North London. And one day I just woke up and there's this hill called Swains Lane in North London, which is the cyclist mecca.
Yeah, we used to do that at lunchtime.
At lunchtime? Oh, wow.
My office was in Kentish Town, so we used to go to Swains Lane.
So that's why I moved. First place I moved to was Kentish Town when I moved to London. And someone said, you should go up Swains Lane on your bike. And I was like, okay. And one of the first times I did it, there's a guy there, and it was Everesting, which for those who don't know means that you'll run, climb, or cycle the same height of Everest, obviously in reps. So I think Swains Lane's like an elevation of like, say 100 meters. So he'd have to do like 800 laps. I can't remember what it was, but he'd have to do so many laps to the equivalent of to climb Everest. And I joined him for like 10 laps of this, and then we kept in touch. He was doing it for charity, and then I joined the cycling club afterwards, and we woke up, got to Regent's Park 5:45 every morning. Sometimes it's a hard session, sometimes it's just a laugh, and sometimes I think about what I would have done if I hadn't got up that morning to go up Swains Lane like 10 times, if I hadn't met this person. So you're that person. So you're that person for a lot of people. You're the person Everesting. You're the person that wrote the blog about Wales Ironman and inspired people to come and join them and move things in directions which they wouldn't necessarily have done so had they not met you or had they not heard of you. So that's amazing. I've one of a better superlative at the end there. Who are your clients? Who helps you out? Who do you kind of connect with to help you do the things you do, and helps you essentially inspire other people?
Well, my first brand partnership was Adidas. So when I after I quit my job, about a year and a half later, I decided again to throw myself into the deep end, and I did this challenge called the Alpine Coast to Coast, where I climbed the highest mountains in the 8 Alpine countries that I went between by bike. So I cycled between them, and it took me 32 days. Talking about the Everest, it was 5 times the height of Mount Everest. And no one else in the world has done that. And that was extraordinary. And that really put me on the map, because before then I'd kind of been in my London job saying, oh, I want to quit my job. I want to live in the mountains. I want to do all these adventures and challenges. But actually, like, another thing for me is like, be a doer, not a talker. And so many of us like can get caught up in the talking of all the things we want to do. But we've just got to say, okay, I'm going to go do that. And that was, another aha moment for me. It was like, you write something down on a piece of paper, you plan it, but then when you commit to it, you just go and do it. And then you're living it. You bring this thing to life that you planned in a Google spreadsheet or on a piece of paper or a whiteboard. And you're cycling through these countries and up these mountains. Like, I'm actually doing this. It was so cool. And because I have a background in business development, so I kind of got to use that and to build relationships with a lot of really extraordinary brands. I was an ambassador for Kellogg's for a year or so, and got to help them with this whole Powering You message, which was, a really extraordinary opportunity. And for me, when I do that, it's all about community activation. So I mentored a group of 5 people to do their first half marathon, and we had, training sessions together and brunches and a WhatsApp group. And one of the guys on the program, he wrote me afterwards like a 4-page kind of testimonial about how it had changed his life. And I think, so many of us don't have in our lives people who want to go after the same things and have that same energy and that same drive. So being able to create those communities is what I've realized like is so powerful for people, to be around somebody that, believes in the same things and is willing to go after it as well. But today I do a lot more coaching. And so I coach a lot of founders, CEOs, leaders and teams around mindset, around this high performance, how we can all unlock greatness. And growth mindset, resilience, courage, those are kind of the key things for me. Helping people understand like what is it that's holding us back, and how can we unlock that, basically. So a lot of aha moments with my clients, which is really, really fun. It's amazing to witness.
Well, I'm gonna get to the aha moments question right now, because this podcast is called Aha Moments, and you've liberally sprinkled through a lot of aha moments through. But I'm still going to ask you the same 3 questions I ask everyone, because I love hearing them, and a lot of people find them inspirational. I can't say that word today. Inspirational. So the first question is: you think of an aha moment in a product or service that or company you've worked for. How did you find it, and how do you kind of steer people towards that as soon as possible, so they can get that aha moment as soon as possible?
Yeah, I love that. I think like from the very beginning, when I started to communicate anything online, that I wanted people to see the things that I was doing and think, if she can do that, so can I.
But not in a derogatory, right? It's not like Oh,
Yeah,
she's someone who can do it. I must be taller than her. I look faster than her, therefore I can do it. It's just like relatable things like,
the
oh, other
opposite.
people are doing it. I can
Yeah.
definitely be one of the team, right?
Breaking down the steps, and a lot of athletes maybe, obviously we've gone through this huge wave of storytelling content and of all brands wanting and us wanting athletes or anyone who's achieved something successful to break that down and show us how they did it and show us that they were a normal person once or they still are a normal person, but they've gone through these steps. But I think that's the core thing to everything that I do is, I'm not someone who kind of climbs the mountain and says, the view's amazing up here, how's it going down there? It's like, the view's amazing up here. Here's how I got here. And here's how you can climb your version of your mountain as well. Not even, you don't have to do the same things as me. You don't have to do Ironmans, but can you take a step forward today in your life with where you are? Can you make a different decision for your physical and mental well-being? Can you invest in the future you, in that way? And I think that's always been like really core to what I do, and being able to sort of share my journey in that way that is a bit more vulnerable, that you've got that strength and vulnerability on both sides of the coin, or courage and fear, and they both exist at the same time. And it's really about noticing that we've got all of these voices and all of these players here, but actually making that choice on a day-to-day basis of, I'm going to choose courage, I'm going to choose taking a risk, I'm going to choose change, I'm going to choose challenge, I'm going to choose all these things. And that is a choice that all of us can make, and it has to happen. We have to do it daily, all the time.
So I love the aha moment there is. I'm trying to unpack that because there's a lot to take away from that.
Do you want me to
Sorry,
go?
yeah, you give it a go, yeah,
I think the aha moment there is knowing that we can always make that courageous choice
yeah.
and actually doing it, and realizing that, it's never going to feel easy, it's never going to feel comfortable, it's but over time we are able to overcome the fear that's holding us back, and it does become easier. I think we all have things that are holding us back, and it's really uncovering that. But you've got to make sure that the client gets there themselves. Like, I might be able to spot that in somebody, but they're never going to change unless, if I'm like, oh, this is your this is what's holding you back. So it's really supporting them to do that, and I do that in a very compassionate way. As I said before, it's like taking into consideration, the entirety of everything that's going on, like all the pressures that we have, the way that we were raised, all the conditioning that we've had, but then looking at exactly where we are today, and thinking, well, is the way that I'm living, or the way that I'm thinking, or the beliefs that I have, are they actually still serving me today? And if not, then what actions can I take to rewire and rewrite that narrative and rewire the way that our brains are working?
Love it. Second aha moment question is, can you think of an aha moment in a product or service that you buy or love? And what was it like the first time you realized it for yourself? What made you buy it? What made you buy into it?
I think it's my bike.
Love it. Go on.
So it's literally still blows my mind. This is what happened. But basically, I used to live in my first job. I lived in West London, and I was working in Brick Lane in East London. And some people cycle to work, but like, to me, it was like, why would I cycle across London? Are you crazy? Like, I can't do that. That is insane. That's like 7.5 miles. Like, that is not possible. That's not something I'm going to do. And I bought a bike because lots of people in my office cycled. And as I was kind of getting into this like fitness thing, I was like, I'll buy a bike. But I used to cycle it to the train station and leave it there. And then one day there was a tube strike, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I cycled across London. And you're like, oh, turns out I can do that. And that's really fun and really awesome. And so then I started to commute across London, and the idea that it's like learning how to cycle my bike, or realizing that I can cycle my bike, 45 minutes across London, has led to me cycling from LA to Miami across the States, from London to Paris in 24 hours, 15 times, 500 miles around the coast of Scotland, just all of these extraordinary adventures. And it still just blows my mind. And it's like that one decision that we take can actually open up a whole new world. And I think that's the aha moment, is constantly looking for those opportunities and saying, where can I make a decision today? And just and surrendering to the outcome of that. where can I make a decision today that will move my life forward, that will open a door, that will be a lever I can pull, that can, create a new opportunity for myself. And I when I am cycling, I just think it is, again, extraordinary, because you're just spinning the pedals one step at a time. And that's it. That's how you get there. That's how you cycle across the country. That's how you do anything. That's how you do an Ironman or a triathlon or whatever it is that you're doing. And that, as a metaphor for life, of breaking things down into one step at a time and just keep going, keep going, keep going, is so powerful. This idea of like big dreams, but then it's baby steps. It's Rome wasn't built in a day. It's just, you just got to keep showing up, showing up, showing up.
Yeah, one revolution at a time with the pedals. Again, one reason I haven't got on my bike is because I know I won't be as fast as I was like 5 years ago. But I know that when I do get on it for the first time, there'll just be like kind of wave of like, and this feels great.
And that's you. You got to get out of your own way. You've just got to be like, who cares? It's not about the speed. It's about, the enjoyment and being outside, and just go for like a nice 20K ride and have a piece of cake, and just enjoy
Celebrate
that.
with cake. Celebrate with cake.
There's such a huge link between cycling and cake. They go hand in hand. So for anyone who's not a cyclist, you'll know, like, on most rides there is always cake.
That's it, guys. Where's the cake stop here? Because it's been 5 minutes. I need to I need to get the cake. You might have led into slightly with your last answer, but I'd like to finish on a personal aha moment or life hack. If there's anything you'd like to share, which is like, okay, this has made my life way better, and I need to keep on doing it, or any kind of recommendations for people for that.
Absolutely. What I would say is take action, take action, take action. And, we all find ourselves in situations where we maybe wish things were different, or we just feel like I'm still dealing with the same things, feeling frustrated. All of these kind of things are so normal, but all we can ever do is take action. And it's like I just say that to myself every single day. You just got to keep showing up. You just got to take action. You got to say yes to things. You got to be in it to win it. You never know, where the smallest, tiniest decision that you don't even think, you're not even doing it intentionally, but you just have no idea what's just around the corner. And what, you say hello to that person at the coffee shop, or you have a conversation with someone in the queue for, your beer at the pub, whatever it is, that you just have no idea. I'll give you an example to close that out. So for the last 2 years, I've been invited, and I just got back from this incredible impact forum in Florida. And it's in the purpose-built wellbeing city called Lake Nona. And it's basically a gathering of about 500 leaders in the space of health and human potential. And it's invite only. And the reason I'm there is because I had a conversation with somebody on the beach in the Bahamas in 2021. And it wasn't just, oh, hi, what are you doing here? Nice weather, gorgeous sunset. Are you on holiday? There was something in my mind, in my brain, that popped in and said, strike up an interesting conversation with this person. And so we had a very meta level conversation about mindset. And we talked about how most of us feel that we live in this external world, but actually we live inside our heads. And, basically the way that our brains work creates everything that happens in our lives. It dictates the relationships we have, the beliefs we have about ourselves, the actions we take. So literally our entire external world is a result of the way that our brains work. And that's why it's so powerful to understand how our brains work, and then be able to rewire that if we want it to be different. Anyway, so it's just wild to me. And the people that I've met at this conference the last 2 years, and the opportunities that have come from that, it's like exploded my world, like levels beyond levels. And, that's the thing. You just listen to that ping in your head that says, go and talk to that person, and you just got to do it. So yeah, take action, take action, take action, follow the pings, and just constantly put yourself out there, because you just never know where a conversation is going to lead you to.
Follow the pings. That'll be the hashtag for this episode. Sophie, thanks so much for joining me on this podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you and reconnect with you after all these years. Thank you very much for you guys listening or watching. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, which is where you can also watch this podcast episode, please do get into contact with Sophie. All her details are in the show notes or in the comments description if you're watching on YouTube. Be kind when you contact her, of course. tell her I sent you. Do subscribe, comment below this podcast, rate, review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts. Please do all the things that podcasters and YouTubers ask you to do, because it really does help. It'd be great if more people did, and it'd be great if more people were inspired. So thanks very much for taking the time with me, and I hope to see you on the next episode.